Welcome back, everyone. It's been such a long time since I've done a heavy gaming video on really any iPhone. I've done one back in like 2018. I think that was the last one. So let's take a look at the iPhone 6s on iOS 15 on some heavy gaming type of things. Now, I have a couple games I didn't want to go super overboard, but these are some really good examples of some games that, are 3D, that take up a lot of effort and stuff, and just to kind of see how they hold up. Now, I hope these games don't take super long to load up because if they do, then we're just going to be sitting here awkwardly. And I just want to see, how well they perform if the phone gets super hot, things like that, how glitchy the game is, obviously. And starting off, we got Real Racing 3, the OG type of game. And clicking here, you can see automatically, it seems actually pretty good. There doesn't seem to be too much delay. I thought it was going to be way more, but it doesn't really seem like it. Got to get through the normal setup at first. And there we go. So let's just kind of get into it. And you can see getting into the game itself, seems pretty good at first. I played this game a million times on this, but not on iOS 15 just yet. And I'm gonna be honest, it definitely is a glitchy experience. It's not gonna be extremely smooth, but it looks pretty good. I didn't think I was gonna talk this much, but I guess we'll just kind of keep rolling with it. And it seems like it's a pretty good experience so far. You can see it is glitching quite a bit, and it definitely looks, I think, a lot more glitchier in person than over the camera. But I think it actually looks pretty decent. Obviously it's kind of hard to play on like a smaller display like this, but it still looks pretty good. I think overall a racing game like this is actually pretty decent. I don't think these games are upscaled. I think if you're playing them on like a 12 Pro Max, the graphics will look better. But this is actually pretty decent performing game on this specific thing, and surprisingly the success did a pretty good job on the gaming aspect of it, which is actually pretty impressive. Now let's move on to the next game. So this one is Zombie Road, whatever this game's called. This is not as intense as something like, Real Racing 3, but it is kind of like a passing by game if you're not super into like these type of games. It's like another little Racing 1 3D kind of thing. And I used to play this game all the time, I would be honest. If you guys remember, this was probably like 2016. I don't know why I'm still in like tutorial mode for these games. And you can see, surprisingly, it doesn't look that bad, kind of going through this whole entire game. Actually looks pretty good. Like I mentioned, it's a pretty basic game. There's nothing super crazy going on. These zombies kind of come up on your car. I was expecting to glitch up a little bit more than it did, and I am pretty surprised how so far this game is kind of rolling. And to be honest, these racing games, I thought they would be a lot more intensive and, demand more from this phone. It doesn't really seem like it. I don't want to spend a crazy amount of time on this specific game, but I am actually pretty surprised how good this game is performing so far on this specific, device. So let's go and hop out of this one. I don't want to spend too much time on this one either. Now, this one's probably the most intensive one we have. This one is Nova Legacy. And I also want you to keep in mind of the loading times of this specific game as well. This is not a super minor game. I mean, it's a pretty big, intensive game. I play this pretty much every single iPhone that ever came out. And I guess we'll just wait and see until this, game is done loading. So the loading finally got done, and one thing I can definitely tell you is that loading times on the 6S on iOS 15 is crazy. It just takes so much time to do anything on this phone. So that's one thing to keep in mind. But so far, everything else seemed to be pretty smooth. It seems like once everything is loaded, it looks pretty good. So let's go and skip the intro, and let's go and get into it. So right off the bat, it really doesn't seem that bad. Again, it's going to be pretty choppy, as you guys can see. It's not going to be like 60 frames per second or anything. But it actually doesn't look too bad. And this is pretty much the biggest game that I could find. There was a little glitch right there, as you guys can see, going down here. And this is before like the game starts actually fully loading up. So if we go and get into here, you can see pretty much the same thing as I expected, nothing super crazy. But I will tell you, I mean, even going to like an iPhone 10, I played this game a million times on the iPhone 10 as well. That phone also performs really well on this game. And the fact that this is only 2 generations beyond that one is pretty crazy in my opinion. Now, I don't really remember what I had to do in this game, but just kind of looking around and everything, I mean, it really doesn't look too bad. I'll be completely honest, it looks much better than I thought. And going through this specific place, you can see again, it glitches every single time. So every time I seem to go through something, seems to be some glitches here and there. Again, not a big deal, but one of those things to consider, especially when you're getting like a phone like this. You don't want it to be like super slow, but it's going to be slow regardless. I'm pretty surprised actually by how good of a performing phone this is on this specific game. I wasn't expecting it to do this, do this well overall. And going through here, I mean, it looks pretty much the same. And it actually is performing much better than I thought. This one came out in 2015, don't forget. And the fact that it seems to be performing this well is pretty surprising to me. So, I mean, that pretty much covers up this specific game and a majority of things. I mean, if this game performs pretty well, all these other games can probably perform pretty well as well. I mean, it looks like iOS 15 didn't take a huge toll on performance. Maybe the 6S, wasn't that great on iOS 14, but at least it didn't get super bad on iOS 15 either. So I think in terms of a gameplay standpoint and heavy intensive games, I actually think the iPhone 6s did a pretty good job today. I think it did a good job in terms of performance. Again, it's not like a crazy thing. I mean, the iPhone 10, like I said, is better than this, and that's like still like 3 or 4 years behind this. But I still think it's a pretty decent performing phone for the year it came out and everything like that. It's not good. I would not recommend anyone to buy this phone today, but can still game a little bit, which is pretty surprising. So that pretty much covers it up. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.